Senator Boodhu.
A very pleasant good afternoon, and may I express my sincere gratitude, Madam Vice President, for permitting me in my maiden address to this Honourable Senate to contribute for a few short moments to the debate. Madam Vice President, a lot has been said in, I suppose, what was not expected for a lot to have been said. Madam Vice President, I really intended first to pay gratitude to the Minister of Planning, the Honourable Minister of Planning, for quoting Eric Williams this morning in this Senate and reminding us of the confirmation that Eric Williams was in fact and will remain remembered as the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. But perhaps I should first address some of the Honourable Attorney General's contributions before I get into the substance of my contribution this afternoon. And, I too was a student of the Honourable Attorney General at the University of the West Indies, but I think it might be a good thing that the Attorney General seems to have forgotten me as a student Honourable Attorney General. Okay, well, now I am concerned. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I was kind of glad that he did not. That's all right. That's all right. But the Honourable Attorney General, if I may continue, the Honourable Attorney General gave a definition of what is an excise. What is excise? But I have here in front of me Section 3 of the Excise General Provisions Act, and it defines excise duty as any duty other than an export duty of customs imposed on any articles manufactured in Trinidad and Tobago. This is Section 3 of the Excise General Provisions Act, which is the heading of course, the excise orders that are before us this afternoon. So I just wanted to put that on the record, that there's a specific definition of what an excise is, Madam Vice President. Now, also the Honourable Attorney General made mention of the perspective that, or the position that demand in alcohol and tobacco, of alcohol and tobacco, is generally inelastic, but then went on to speak contrarily about all the health rationales that has seemed to have propped up the increase on these excises and customs duties that we see here, Madam Vice President, which is also contrary a little bit to the conversation led by the learned and Honourable Minister of Planning. So that it then led me to look at the budget statement found on page 28. This is the published budget statement. And under the heading Fiscal and Other Measures at subheading 4, increases in fees, charges and excise duties. This is the subheading, and it's on page 28 of the budget statement. This is the heading that addresses and introduces the increase in excise and or custom duties. And the reason I'm saying and or is because, and I will quote from it, it says here, now again, let me repeat the subheading first of all. The subheading is increase in fees, charges and excise duties, Madam Vice President. And then we go on, and I quote, updating the fee structures in line with the current cost of doing business is therefore necessary to ensure cost reflectivity, fairness and sustainability, while also safeguarding service quality and enabling modernization. It is important to note that 80% of the projected revenue increases are attributable to customs duties on rum and spirits, beer and tobacco products. Therefore, the following amended duties are proposed, and it proposes to introduce a schedule of the increased duties. Now, I also want to tie this back to the Honourable Minister of Planning this morning, when he was very careful when referring to this very budget speech to say that the Honourable Minister of Finance increased duties, and the Honourable Minister didn't make mention to whether it was custom duties or excise duties. Because just after the two schedules that are included here at said page 28, It says these measures will contribute an additional $1 billion to revenue. Mr. Speaker, the increase in customs duties on rum and spirits, beer and cigarettes will take immediate effect. Immediate effect meaning ostensibly the 13th of October 2025. And it went on to say, the increase in other fees and charges and licenses will take effect from January 1st, 2026. Now, in reading this and also listening on the budget, and I went to the Hansard and I confirmed this is exactly what was said on the Hansard, Madam Vice President. And looking at this, it would tell us that the increase in other fees, charges, and licenses taking effect on the 1st of January 2026 refers to items such as container processing fees, environmental tire tax, wild animals and birds, and so on. So it made no mention here of immediate duties being placed on customs as it relates to rum and spirits, beer and cigarettes. Pardon me, it says here, let me just repeat for the record and for clarity. Mr. Speaker, the increase in customs duties will take immediate effect. Then, Madam Vice President, we have on the 13th of October 2025, on the same day, 2 legal notices were published in the Trinidad and Tobago Gazette, numbers 373 and 376, entitled The Excise Duty Tobacco Products Amendment Order 2025 and the Excise Duty Alcoholic Beverages Amendment Order 2025, respectively. Both these legal notices had the actual effect of immediately increasing the excise duties on cigarettes, rum and spirits, beer and malt products. And so, in comparing what was said in the budget, in the speech, and in the House, pursuant to the Hansard, with what was actually put into effect by way of the legal notices, Madam Vice President, which were contemporaneous legal notices, these increased excise duties only and not customs duties. And more interesting, all of these documents are the product of the Honorable Minister of Finance. They are footed with the inscription of the Honorable Minister of Finance. So it is that we have one thing being said to the population and something completely different being done. Now, again, I want to draw us back to the next date that was quoted in this subpart, in this subparagraph or subheading. The next date was January 1st, 2026. So two dates were mentioned, immediate effect, which we know is the 13th of October, and the next date is January 1st, 2026. Lo and behold, as we know from the order paper today, there are other notices that have come into effect on the 17th of October, 2025. So that is neither immediate, nor is it the 1st of January. And then you have on the 22nd of October coming into play as well. So, one has to ask oneself, in paying attention, what really is to be believed by the population if we're being told one thing and another thing is being done. And so, I want to suggest that this is just yet another example of this government's persistence in saying one thing, doing another thing, and asking us to accept it, hook, line, and sinker. And now, come back to the Honourable Attorney General's contributions just a short moment ago about the NIF. So I have in my hand there, and the Honourable Senator Al-Rawi referred to it. It's dated the 28th, or at least it has a date on it, which says the 28th of October, 2025, 5:12 p.m. The website is NIF Bond-National Investment Fund, and it has, it has on it nif-tt.com. So it is a document source from the NIF Fund's website. And it lists here the NIF bond, the affordable investment opportunity by the National Investment Fund Holding Company Limited, supported by 5 of the country's best performing companies. And I will list them all as was done before. Republic Financial Holdings Limited, One Caribbean Media Limited, number 3, the West Indian Tobacco Company Limited. That it was just said by the Honourable Attorney General was not included in the NIF, please. And the Honorable Attorney General made reference to the question of relativity as it relates to the declines in Whitco and Angostura. But, Madam Vice President, the declines are due to the illicit trade which Senator Dan Paul spoke about this morning. Because, I mean, I am no economist either, but it is common knowledge, I would think, that if you increase taxes, illicit trade automatically increases. That was the point Senator Dan Paul made this morning, Madam Vice President. Now, I want to come back to the question as to what is the true motivation of this, because, I mean, a short while ago we heard we on this side are only interested in the bottom line, but then we also heard an entire missive about this being a health tax. But that was introduced for the first time today in this Honorable House. At no point in time during the budget debate was there any conversation about motivations for the excise being increased or the customs duty being increased based on a concern for health, for the health of the population. So that it cannot be accepted and cannot be said that this is in fact motivated by health. In fact, subheading 4 says, it is important to note that 80% of the projected revenue increases are attributable to custom duties on rum, spirits, beer, and tobacco products. And it went on again, and I mean, I could repeat it, but I don't think I need to. It made mention of current cost of doing business and necessary to ensure cost reflectivity, fairness, and sustainability, and enabling modernization. The measures will contribute an additional $1 billion in revenue. All of this is in the budget speech. Now, of course, again, we have a little bit of contrariness, because if you look at the projected revenues, we have in the projected revenues $1.3 billion thereabouts. So $300 million less is projected in the budget speech than what is in the projected revenues for 2026. And so, there begs a legitimate question as to whether there is, in fact, overstatement. And even if you were to double what was received, the actual receipt in 2025, you're not going to get the projected figures in 2026. But I don't want to trespass upon our budget debate, although I think the door is wide open at this point in time, respectfully, Madam Vice President. So, if it is that we are to accept at this stage, today, for the first time, that this is, in fact, a health tax, then why is it that we have not heard that the additional taxation is going to be used for an increased allocation in healthcare or education, perhaps specialized education to attempt to discourage the abuse of tobacco and alcohol from an early age? We have not heard that the additional taxation is going to be used to find jobs for the tens of thousands of CPEP and URP and reforestation workers that have gone home, which usually is consistent with a health tax. It is usually consistent with a health tax that a minister is going to introduce what the increase in revenue is going to be used for, rather than to stick it in the consolidated fund. What have we heard as to how are we going to provide employment for the hundreds, if not thousands of persons that now become at risk of losing their jobs because of downsizing within the alcohol and tobacco industries in Trinidad and Tobago? And of course, we haven't heard anything about any incentivization for the small breweries that we have seen developing over the last few years, and which, with the right support, can develop into net foreign exchange earners. And additionally, contribute to Trinidad and Tobago's internationally recognized brands of beer and spirits. So, no, I want to make sure I don't miss anything, but I also don't want to be accused of any tedious repetition, because my colleagues on this side have been so, explanatory and everything. Brilliant. Yeah, they are. Thank you for recognizing that, Minister. So, I think in closing, Madam Vice President, but I agree with you, Senator. It's not a health tax. It's a revenue earner. But this morning we are hearing something completely different. We are in all of this talk about how the PNM don't care about people's health.
Well, we know that.
All right. And I want to, there's another thing. The Honorable in general raised the question about manatee. And I mean, I have to express gratitude on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to Senator Al-Rawi today, because if Senator Al-Rawi didn't raise these issues this morning, would the Honorable Attorney General have gotten to his legs and answered questions about that manatee field? And so I am wondering if we're going to get any further clarification, because is it that the Honorable Attorney General is saying, Madam Vice President, is it that the Honorable Attorney General is saying that the manatee field is not affected by the cancellation of the Venezuela and TT framework? I mean, is that it? I'm not exactly. There's a continuous absence of information. Again, I think we really have to give credit for Honorable Senator Al-Rawi's contribution this morning. Thank God for that. So, in winding up, Madam Vice President, in what I would have liked to be a longer contribution, but the competence of the opposition bench here today really causes me to have precious little to add. But we would respectfully like to urge the government to make decisions founded in sound policy and be straight with the population. Ad hoc increases in taxation, particularly coming shortly after an election campaign during which an anti-tax position was telegraphed, is to say the least misleading and causes the population to have a sense of distrust, Madam Vice President. So now in closing, I wish to express my sincere gratitude to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for the opportunity today. To the leader, that's the Honourable Penelope Beckles-Robinson. And to the Leader of Government Business, to my colleagues on the opposition bench, to the parliamentary staff, whom I must say are commendable in their service so far. And I wish to express, Madam Vice President, the immense sense of duty and responsibility I feel to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, to whom I commit to serve diligently, honestly, responsibly, and with integrity in all things, whether I have another opportunity or not, Madam Vice President. So, Madam Vice President, I thank you most sincerely.